Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back. Welcome. And this guy is here to set the record straight when it comes to liberals. Not really about politics. It's just the facts that he found in writing his book, The Liberal Record, How Liberals Change the World. And he's got some more insight specifically about things that are affecting us every single day. Marcelo Brazzi is back on the program. Marcelo, welcome. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. We're doing great. How are you doing?
I'm well. There you are, live and direct from California, and digging into things that are going on connected to liberals. But you're feeling that there's a lot of things, even current events, that aren't being properly exposed when it comes to liberals. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have. And that's why most of my book is devoted to explaining to people the things that is not common knowledge, and it should be. It should be.
And to set the record straight, and I don't do politics, so I'm going to put that out there. I'm just highlighting his book. However, to set the record straight about the liberal record, last couple of times we got together, you presented facts, and it's just research you did that's not seen anywhere else. In the book, you have graphs, you have details, you have great reviews. So yeah, why don't we take a look at some things that are happening today that affect us all, that liberally connected isn't getting a lot of proper insight in your mind.
Yeah, let me add to your comment about not being political. I'm actually a registered independent, card-carrying independent. I voted for Republicans in the past. I voted for Reagan and Bush and different people, so I'm not a hardcore, left party person. I mean, I just go by whatever, I thought Reagan was a good guy and all that. So I just want to say that I'm not an extreme left wing nutcase.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I totally get it. And it's, many of us are so tired of politics that we look at the issues, we look at the candidates, we go with a gut feeling of what we think is going to work best for all of us. So yeah, that said, what are you feeling now that's not properly being exposed when it comes to liberals?
Well, just look at where we are today. I mean, years ago, when I was growing up, politics, it wasn't a big deal. With people, one party, another party, they would have different opinions, but they would cooperate and compromise and that. And then all of a sudden now, in the last 20 years or so, whatever, it's just like fighting. I mean, just. I hear stories all the time of brothers who don't talk to each other anymore, or parents who don't talk to their kids anymore. It's crazy.
You know what? I just heard a story yesterday how somebody doesn't talk to her nephew anymore because she posted something a couple of years ago, and it wasn't even deep political. It's just her feeling on COVID, and he didn't agree, and he's about 30 and very strong-willed about it, and it's his way or no way, and they don't talk anymore. Crazy.
Well, that's when I get together with some of my relatives, we kind of know that there's difference of opinion, so we don't even talk about anything.
You know what? That's why I say I don't do politics. Exactly.
We talk about all family stuff, but nobody brings up any politics anymore because anyway.
Issues today that that you feel that Democrats aren't showing liberals the light that they deserve for what's going on.
Let me just touch on some real briefly to give examples that I cover in my book that are not common knowledge and they should be. For example, one, if you ask people, does the economy do better under Republicans and Democrats? A lot of them will say Republicans, but if you look at the data, look at the history, look at all the records, the economy has always done better under Democrats. I mean, you look at the GDP, employment, wages, incomes, the stock market, whatever you look at, the economy has always done better under Democrats. But a lot of people don't, they don't realize that. No, why, and that's what irritates me is why aren't the Democrats, or not just the Democrats, but the news media in general, why isn't that something that people should be aware of, you know? And so I cover that in my book. Well, another one I think we maybe mentioned in the past that if you look at the administration advisors who have been convicted of felonies in the recent past, you have 94 Republicans have been convicted, and only one Democrat. Only one Democrat has been convicted of a felony, and 94 Republicans. No, I don't know if you can draw any conclusion from that, but the point is that there is something there, you know, and nobody knows about that. I mean, you know, it just bothers me that people are unaware of these things. One on an area of
Well,
guns.
I just want to jump in here that some may say that's subjectionable because of the outcome, how that either a jury or how it swung in that direction. Yeah, that could be subjectionable. However, when you take a look at the economy, the numbers speak for themselves. Like, you deal in facts, the facts are the facts.
Yeah, I mean, and you can try to question the numbers, but in terms of the economy, the numbers are all over the place. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, the stock market data, everything. I mean, you can just Google anything and then you'll get 100 pages on stock market statistics and economy statistics. So that's, you know, you can't say that's a lot of baloney or, you know, whatever.
Right.
And other things, it's just a few little things. There's a lot more, but people don't realize, just one example, that back in 2003, Republicans passed a law forbidding the free market free market exchange of goods, capitalism. And everybody thinks that's crazy. Republicans are all for free market and capitalism and all that. Well, that might be true sometime, but they actually passed a law, and it was still in effect, I think, until I think it might have been finally got repealed here recently, I believe, under Biden. But for all those years, the law said that it was written by the drug companies actually and the Republicans that you cannot negotiate prices for pharmaceuticals. In other words, and this has been in the news a little bit lately, that whatever the drug company would put on their price on whatever drugs they want, that's what you had to pay. You couldn't say, well, we're going to buy a large quantity, you should give us a discount or anything like that. And, that's, again, it's just something that, one of those things that people should be aware of, but they're not, and I go into all kinds of stuff like that in the book. Let me back up just a little bit on how we got here. Around 1949, it was soon after the war. People were shocked by what had transpired in Germany, where so many people were convinced through propaganda and stuff that to believe whatever they believed. And I think Truman back then and the other Congress, they said, listen, we don't want that to happen here in America, and everybody said, no, that'll never happen here, Well, so they passed a law called the hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh,
Just said we're switching over on a camera there. That's all.
Oh, I
wouldn't leave you.
I thought you sent me off to Chicago or something.
Not at all.
Yeah, so they passed this law called the Freedom of Freedom of Broadcasting, and what that meant was that if somebody came up with some wild accusations and things like that, the other side had to have equal time. And that was in effect for many years. And that was why we had fairly balanced opinions on both sides. And because nobody was afraid to step over the line and say crazy out of stuff. August 4th, 1987, the Republicans repealed that law. I mean, they just said, well, that we're not going to have that law anymore. And so the next day, practically the next day, a guy named Rush Limbaugh and Fox News a little bit later and other people, they just went out of control, 100% attacking Democrats day in and day out, 24/7, making up stuff and exaggerating stuff. And that built up extreme hatred by certain people of the left, of the Democrats, and that was a turning point. A lot of people, aren't aware of how it happened, but that once they released the media to go out of control, that's how we ended up here today. And now they're finally starting to catch up on that. If you've been following the news, for example, Fox News, because of their dishonesty and distortions and all that, they're being sued by several people. They're being sued by the voting machine company, Dominica. They're being sued by some of the people who used to work there. And they're being sued by stockholders who are saying, because you haven't been doing what we want you to do, or doing telling people what's really happening. So they're being sued by a whole bunch of people. Rudy Giuliani also, he's being sued, and his partner Powell, they're all being sued for a lot of stuff because they have not been honest. They've been spreading all these crazy conspiracies and lies and distortions. And now the courts the Department of Justice is, and all the people too, a lot of people are saying it's, we're not going to let you keep getting away with this.
Well, sadly, broadcasting was built upon, especially news reporting, was built upon the principle of fair and impartial.
Well,
On the flip side of that, I see how that can be a challenge in the broadcast world, because if you cover something and it focuses on one party, you have to keep track of all of that your entire broadcast day to make sure that you give equal time to the other party. So I could see both sides, but then again, now you look at many different networks and media outlets, and they're associated with one party. Yeah, like Fox is one, CNN is another one. The fair and impartial thing went out the window. Yeah, unfortunately.
No, you're right. I mean, I don't object to any political stuff. I mean, if they're going to make their case, fine. But there's, this idea of having equal time and getting both two sides of the issue. I think that's important.
If you're in court, when that happened in court, you have two sides. One gets to speak, the other one gets to speak, and usually it's about equal. We have instant feedback, and this one is coming from Greg in Searsport, Maine, and he says, I appreciate your talk today. Want to back up what you said. 10 of the 11 U.S. recessions between 1953 and 2020 began under Republican presidents. Just thought I would share that with you. So there you go. Just share what people are saying. By the way, instant feedback, steve@gmail.com if you want to reach back to us. Any other issues that you want to highlight that you feel are not really fair?
Yeah, kind of in that same area. This is, it's my opinion, but I think it's common knowledge also, that the far right media, Fox primarily, and them, they've been on a constant attack on the other side. But I'm not. Maybe I'm just missing something, but I'm not aware of any programs that the Republicans are promoting, at least not very well. Like, for example, just one of them, all the gun massacres and killings and all that. I don't think that Republicans have any kind of a plan to even address the issue or even think about it or talk about it. There's just no plans whatsoever. Another one is inflation. There may be a plan out there, but I'm not aware of any program being promoted to cut back on inflation. Well, the one program they always have is they're going to cut taxes on the rich people. Well, they always do that. That never works, by the way. I mean, we can talk some more about that, but this trickle down cutting taxes for the rich people, it does not work at all. I can tell you about a case of Kansas where they did that, and it was a disaster. Healthcare is another one. Do they have any plan for revising healthcare or improving it? My point is, it seems like there's no positive planning, promotions or to help the American people and help America in general. There's
well, what would you let's go there with healthcare. What would you say would be a fair compromise to make the healthcare system in the United States better?
Well, that's difficult.
Yeah, I know there's many layers on that.
Yeah, no, the big picture, and I'm always a guy of the big picture. The current American healthcare program has some serious problems, hurdles. One of them, a big one, is the entire industry is profit driven. I mean, it's all the hospitals, the insurance companies, the Medicaid, the drug company, everything is, it's and when your company or any organization, when your number one objective and number one goal is to make profits, everything else comes in behind that, like service, like satisfied customers, you're forced to go and focus on profits. So, and that's not too bad, except that our healthcare system, there's no competition. There's no competition. In other words, if your doctor says, Steve, I want you to go over to Good Luck Hospital and get a brain transplant or something, and you just go. You're not going to go look on the internet and find a better hospital or find a better doctor or find a cheaper this, or you just do whatever you're told. In the hospitals, they don't get together and compare prices and say, oh well, we're going to have a lower price than you. We're going to do this or that. There's no free market. And then.
Well, can I interject here? When you say market, many states, I'm not sure if all of them, do the marketplace. So if you're shopping for insurance, and let's say you're not getting insurance, let's say you're a small business owner, you're buying your own insurance, you don't have your employer subsidizing a little piece of it, you can't shop around. It's whatever the state says. And they give you like two choices. And I'll give you an example, which I think is it crushes the middle class. Let's say you're making $110,000, family of four, New York State, or an area of New York where it's high cost of living. Let's even say New York City. Your insurance premium, more times than not, for a fairly decent program with decent deductibles, is going to be $2,500 a month.
A month?
I'm not kidding. And if you want me to back up those facts, I'll show you. And that's it. Oh, I am not kidding. It's a busted, broken system, and it needs to get fixed. And I don't care what party fixes it, but those are the facts. And that's the plateau in the state of New York. And I've heard it's also in other states as well. How do you survive on that? Even if you're in a state with a cost of Iowa, where the cost of living is probably lower than New York, how do you even survive there when you're giving up that major portion of your salary?
Well, I got 2 points. One, a lot of people are told, again, this goes back to the misinformation and disinformation programs or whatever. They're all told that healthcare in other countries, Europe, Germany, Canada, England, they're all terrible. Oh, people are all waiting in line for get a tooth pulled, you gotta wait 6 years, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Well, I've looked into it, and that's not true. The truth is, and I once dated a lady in England, and I got familiar with her healthcare, and then she came here and she got familiar with ours. And I'm telling the truth that people in other countries are much more satisfied. In fact, there's even statistics in my book. I have a chart, graphs and numbers, that other countries are very happy with their government health care. And, this stuff of saying they're all terrible, we got the best healthcare. We might, in some cases, our technology is a little bit better than other places, but not as much as people think.
Look at Canada, what the government does to subsidize the insurance there. I know quite a few people in Canada, like you said, Marcello, they're very happy with the way the system. Yeah. And I will say in the States, based on my observation, if you are challenged by salary, you're pretty well taken care of for the most part. The challenge comes in if you're middle class, and you have to buy your own insurance. Even if you get it through an employer, you're still paying a big chunk of change. Big dollars there. It needs to be fixed.
Yeah, well, like I said, the current system is, well, that's why, ever since the first healthcare program was proposed back in 1949, 50, the Republicans have always opposed everything, anything, any kind of healthcare, but whatever. And I kind of can see where they're coming from. They're again, back to the profits thing. They had all these big insurance companies and drug companies and everything. And if we had a universal health care, a lot of those big operations, wouldn't be, they'd have to go out and get different jobs, and do something else. The salaries are $30 million, for 20 million, 20, 30 million. You'll never convince me that anybody can do anything that's worth $30 million. And that's what the top
you're talking about a salary, right?
Huh?
You're talking about a salary of an executive?
Yeah, well, salary, stocks, options, and
right.
the whole package. The CEOs for all of these companies. Again, this is in the book, and I got numbers, I got salaries, or I don't know if you call it salaries, but compensation.
Compensation, yeah,
is a better word. And they're just through the roof, and of course they don't want to give that up. So they're going to pour, millions of dollars into avoiding changing the system. One good example was when back after Obamacare got approved or installed, the next year the Republicans were promising they were going to come up with a bigger, better system. And so during the year they're negotiating, trying to figure out what kind of a system they're going to have. Along the line, somehow the idea of a public option came up. So you could have your choice, either a government system or stay with the private system. They oppose that government option, believe it or not because the governments are too inefficient, governments are a waste of time and all that, but because it was too efficient. They argued that I'm serious, their big argument against the public option was that it would be too efficient, too effective. People would get much better service. And that was their argument, that it would be much better system than the private. And that, they said that publicly, and it's, one thing, I made a little note for myself. There was a guy named Joseph Goebbels. He was a head of propaganda for Germany back in the 40s. And he I love one of his famous quotes. He said, repeat a lie often enough and people believe it. And that's exactly what's happening here. There people being told, like the stolen election. They keep telling people it's stolen election fraud, stolen election fraud. Well, that's a big bunch of baloney. I mean, for example, real quickly before we run out of time, there were 160 polls taken prior to the last election, and the average of all those polls was exactly the outcome that for vote for Biden. On top of that, Fox News and Fox News takes polls just like everybody else. And their poll showed that Biden would actually get more votes than he actually got. So the Fox News media or whatever, their polling showed that they expected Biden to get like 53% of the vote. He got 51%. Now, if there's a lot of pro-Biden fraud and ballot manipulations and all that, he should have gotten more, not less. He got less than what they were expecting. Again, that's just something that kind of just goes to the point of there's a big gap in informing the people, and I honestly think the Democrats are doing a terrible job. I think they're just a big failure. They don't, in marketing or any kind, the big goal they tell you, in marketing 101 is you have to have a brand image, an image or name, and the Democrats are all over the place. Nobody can just say, the Democrats are for this and that, or whatever. Or they're, it's just they're doing a terrible, terrible job of establishing, a likable, valuable image, a product image.
I want to tell everybody we're just about out of time, so I want to make sure we talk about the website and where to find your book. It's The Liberal Record, How Liberals Changed the World, on your website. Can we go there? I know you have even excerpts from the book and more details and also testimonials, reviews. What's your website?
Oh, it's theliberalrecord.com. It's all lowercase, one word, theliberalrecord.com.
And we can buy your book there?
Well, it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. So it's available. Yeah.
It's, you know what? I give you a lot of credit, and not going politics here, but you're trying to set the record straight.
Yeah, right. That's what the whole book is about. I mean, there's very little in that book, very little that is common knowledge. Almost everything in there is eye-opening, and check the reviews. I mean, reviews where it's outstanding, it must read, entertaining, interesting, all that stuff. So it's not just a bunch of left-wing opinions. It's solid information, and information that few people are aware of. That's
and I think most importantly, it's the culmination of at least 3 years of research that you did. There's a lot of
my engineering background. I believe in digging into what's really happening, and getting to the bottom line of whatever it is. I was a spacecraft engineer on the Apollo spacecraft, and you can't fool around. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, let's get away with it." Well, actually, they did, and it turned out to a couple of disasters. We can talk about that sometime. But no, I mean, I believe in getting at the truth and sticking with it, and that's it. So anyway,
I feel the same way. I am fact driven. The facts, they don't lie. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff that's out there, perception turns into be the reality. Marcelo, thank you so much for being here today. Lots of interesting insight and viewpoints, and look forward next time we get a chance to talk.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for your good questions. You got a lot of good questions. I like that.
Thank you. And I don't do politics. I'm a regular person just wondering, how to fix the system in a lot of ways.
There's a big gap in knowledge out there, and I just hope we can fix that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Theliberalrecord.com.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.